Okay, I have Bryce opened, and as you can see, I'm in the starting default position. My camera is in front of me, so I want to move that to the front. I want to be holding it in my lap, per se. If you scroll through the select views, you'll notice that I'm on the top view, and that's where I can see that the camera is away from me, not in front of me. So what I'm going to do first is go to Camera Options and select Camera to Director. Now if I go back to the top view, I can see that now my camera is towards me and not away from me. Just a quick review on some of the tools that we have, or the actual interface. This is the Nano Preview. We have Create tools here. So there's different little tabs to click on. Edit and Sky and Fog. Up above here you have your application menu bar with different options. Right below our select views you have your camera tools to be able to pan in or out, a control trackball for the camera trackball right in the center. Right below that you have your render button. You can also change the background to your real estate here. Now if you're not seeing a complete area here to work with, that means that you need to select document setup. I'm currently working with max recommended. If I switch over to default, notice what happens. My working real estate here, or my window, gets a lot smaller. And so just so that we can have a little bit more room and real estate to work with, that means that you'll just be focusing in on this little window here. But if you want more real estate, want to use the entire working area here. Again, go to File, Document Setup, hit this Max Recommended, and then click OK. And that'll change your view. Next, again, we can go over here to the left-hand side, little tools. The second one here will allow you to change the background view. So you can go to white, and there's white background. So you can really pick and choose any one you want at this point. Okay, let's review our Create tools. For this one, again, you can be using, or you're going to be using, the same tools that we used last time, so the primitives. And what we're going to do is actually build a sculpture. But first we have to set up our scene. The requirements for this assignment are to have no sky showing. So what we're going to utilize to hide that sky, because we do want some of that ambient color coming in from the sun and sky, which we'll talk about more a little bit later. But on top view, you can see that I dropped in a cube, and I'm just going to make this larger, taller, by clicking on one of the vertices at the very top. Now again, you can work with these vertices, or you can go to Edit and then choose the Y, click and drag, so that you can make that a lot taller. So that'll vertically go up and down. Going back here, you can also extend that. So really what I'm creating here is a wall. I'm just going to keep on expanding that until I can now not see any sky. Here in the Nano Preview you can see that I can still see some sky, but I can rotate this as well, so that now it's rotating right in front of me here and in front of the camera. Make that a little bit taller, and now I can see that the wall is hiding the sky. Okay, I'm rendering that out. I'm going to stop the render just by clicking on Select Views, toggling through my main view here. Now, one of the tools that you'll find, or one of the views that you'll find most efficient is, or helpful, is the top view. Again, you can reach that by going here from top or clicking through the select views. Okay. The top view, if you're actually working with the top view, you'll see that here's my camera and here's the wall that I just built. And you can use something called Control minus to zoom in or out. So I can zoom out or in as much as I want. And this comes useful in just a minute. What I'm going to do is actually put in a base for the sculpture I want to build. And if I go to the top view and I have the cube selected, you'll see that if I do a Control plus, it'll zoom in to that exact selection that I have. So if you zoom in too much, it'll get a little bit out of hand. But don't try this in any other view, because what will happen is you'll change the view of the camera. So the camera will either expand or contract. So that's a useful tool there to zoom in to specific areas. And when we start modeling, you're going to see that that's going to be very useful. So I'm going to go to the top view and zoom out. And for this assignment, it calls for a tabletop or at least a base to put on, to put your sculpture on. So what I'm going to do is just create, again in the same manner that I created the wall, I'm going to make this a little wider and create a, and really I'm using the edit tool right here, the resize. Again, if you hover over any of these tools, on the very bottom left hand side corner, you'll see what that tool does. Reposition tool, resize tool. I'm going to go ahead and resize that, and then again rotate it just by clicking and dragging on this little area here, which is the little ring around the cube in the rotate tool. And there's my tabletop, and that's fine. I'll make that a little bit not as tall so I can have it just like that. So a way to kind of look at this is we're going into a modern arts museum where you might go in and see some abstract art. That's what we're doing, is an abstract art, nothing that is representative of anything mechanical or otherwise. It's just an abstract, very abstract piece of art. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my little base for the sculpture. So I'm going to use a pyramid in this case. You can use any of these tools, a cone, a pyramid, a cube, cylinder, a torus, or even a sphere for the base of that sculpture. And you'll notice now that because I have other objects in here, I can start placing my object where I want that to be. And obviously it's going to be on top of this platform here as a base for the tabletop. But to better be able to focus in on just the sculpture, what I'm going to do is actually go into solo mode. You can find solo mode down on your right hand side, and they look like little VCR players or playback buttons. But there's a little green button. If you press on that, you'll be able to go into solo mode. So I'm going to press on that right now, and you'll see that now it takes me into just working with the base that I dropped in, and that's going to be part of my sculpture. So in this way, nothing else gets in the way of me building this. Again, that's solo mode. If I click on on or off, it'll toggle me back into my scene, and really it just kind of focuses in on that one particular object that you have selected. So let's start building our sculpture here. Now for this sculpture, just like anything else, you've got to kind of be careful with making sure that things are going to be kind of glued together, if you will. So what I'm going to do is put in a torus, and you'll notice that that does not pop into the same place. So if on the top view, from here it looks like it's connected. So from the front view camera or director view, it definitely looks like the pyramid is touching the torus, but in reality, if we look over onto our top view, you'll see that they are nowhere near each other. So there's my torus, and here is my pyramid. All right. So what we need to do is go ahead and kind of put this together. So I'm going to bring that in closer to my pyramid. I'll show you a quick trick here. Now that I've moved that into position and I know it's touching the base, what I could do is I can now double click it, and you can see the torus is animated there. But I can now change the radius of this. To be honest, I've never seen Bryce do this before, where it's animated the torus view. That's something that I've never seen. So I don't know if it's just my machine. You may not get that, but my machine might be acting up a little bit. I'll hit OK, and now you can see that the radius of my torus is a little bit thinner. And now I'm going to show you a really cool little trick. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to select that, or that's already selected, the torus, but I want to use a tool called multi-replicate. And this will kind of give you some nice little variations to this torus that I'm adding. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to control duplicate. So I'm going to make a copy of this, but it's going to be in the same spot. The way to do that is you either go to File, no, it's actually under Edit, Duplicate, and I always use the shortcuts for these. So duplicate is Control D. We'll be using that quite a bit in here. So just to go here, I'm going to do a Control D to duplicate that. You can see it got darker, but it did make a copy, and now the copy is selected. Next, what I'm going to do is definitely go up to Edit, and I'm going to go into Multi-Replicate. There you'll see this little area here, and this can give you some, not really predicted things that might happen, but what we're going to do is multi-replicate that selection. And you could say you want 8 in quantity altogether. You can offset this a bit by putting in several numbers here. Maybe I can have it go X and then Y, maybe another 10 there. Offset, we don't really want to offset too much, but I'm going to just do 3 in there. I don't want to offset it too much. I'm going to rotate it 10 and then maybe leave that Z out for now. I'll hit OK. There you can see what happens. I'll render it. And it gave me a very interesting kind of abstract little multi-replication of things.